Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and confidence is kind of what I wanted to talk about today, or more accurately, kind of the opposite of confidence, which I suppose would be anxiety. I'm someone that throughout my whole life, I've always been a little bit anxious and a little bit I've noticed recently about myself that when I get particularly anxious, it comes through in my hands, right? Sort of go a bit like that, or kind of like that. And it's just a way of getting some energy out of you, because I think what anxiety is ultimately, when it's inside your head, it's this unplaced, mismatched energy that you're trying to find something to do with it, and you end up just sort of using that energy to turn against yourself. You know, you sit there going, I'm not good enough, you know, my friends shouldn't be friends with me because I'm like useless. You know, why do I still get to keep my job because I'm terrible at it, all that sort of stuff. When realistically, you're a good friend to people, you do fine at your job, you're an all right person at the end of the day, and you can kind of try and relieve yourself by saying that to yourself, but it doesn't work very well when it's you self-reassuring about how you're all right, because you're going to think you're all right, you know what I mean? So you kind of, what ends up happening is this sort of mismatch in your own head of, I know I'm okay, I know I'm an all right person, I'm decent, but I don't want to sort of say that to myself because it's sort of self-congratulatory. And I don't like to be like that. I'm not someone who boasts particularly often. Oh, that's a lie, I do boast, but I don't know. I try and not do it too much, and when I do, I always try and stick in a little bit of sort of, it wasn't just me, it was someone else, X, Y, Z. And I don't know, recently, I've become a lot more aware of my own mental health. Particularly this whole year, actually, 2026, because I stopped doing the channel, I stopped uploading stuff properly. I also stopped working at my job that I had at the time, which was a bartender. And when you end up doing both of those things at the same time, it can kind of feel like everything's crashing down, and it can feel like the weight of the entire world rests on you and your actions. And if you don't live life to the absolute fullest, that you're wasting it, and that eventually you're going to be sort of 80 years old looking back going, oh God, I didn't do anything with my life. I mean, just yesterday I was meant to go to this gig that my friends are doing, because they've gotten their dream gig, right? It's brilliant. They were two people on the bill, both bands that they've started, that they've or joined, and they're doing little tours all around, and they're doing so well. I'm so proud of them. And I wanted to go, and I ended up kind of giving the old, oh, I'm a bit tired sort of thing. But I've noticed about myself lately, when I've been going to these sort of events, I get there and my anxiety just immediately goes through the roof. It's like suddenly I've got to act the part, and I don't know what the part is. I know the part is just myself, but the me that I think of as me from an outsider's perspective, I look at it and go, God, is that who I am? You know? Sometimes I look at some of these old videos and I go, Jesus, is that who I am? Or you ever, you know, keep yourself up at night with some sort of reoccurring memory of like, God, that was cringeworthy. And I'm trying to think of a good one that I could sort of say to you that was kind of a recent one. You know, when you sort of try and tell a joke and it lands flat, or you try and make a point and the point ends up, oh, that's a good one. At my last job, me and a co-worker, we were talking about music that we don't normally listen to. And I brought up, I'd found, like, for some reason YouTube had recommended me this bloody Minecraft parody song, and I clicked on it for some reason, just sort of thinking I'm going to take the piss out of it, because it's the sort of thing I used to watch when I was 12, you know. And I watched it and I was like, oh shit, the beat and the rhyming scheme is actually kind of all right. So I said to her, oh, there's this random sort of Minecraft parody song that I ended up quite liking. And she went, oh no, I don't like that sort of thing. And then she walked off, and I was like, hang on, she doesn't think that I listen to that sort of thing on the regular, does she? Oh no, you know. And I can't really go and chase her down and go, you know that thing about the Minecraft parody song? It's no, that's not the sort of thing I normally listen to. You can't keep, you know, reiterating the same point or keep over-explaining yourself, because ultimately that becomes cringeworthy in and of itself. And I think with me and anxiety, it's just this sort of constant feeling that I'm not good enough. And it doesn't matter how many people go, yeah, you are good enough. It doesn't make any difference. I'm just constantly sitting there, you know, not even necessarily comparing myself to others, but comparing myself to what I consider to be an ultimate version of myself. You know, someone who can get up and go out and graft and do things properly and care for the people that are important to him, and you know, create and inspire and work and all of this sort of stuff and still have time to, you know, have a good time afterwards. And for the past sort of 6 months, I've almost been in this catatonic state. That's the reason I haven't been making any videos. I've been constantly starting and stopping these little projects that I thought, oh, this is going to be it. And every time it sort of falls apart and I go, God, I can't do it anymore. This is it, you know. I'm like the Beatles in like 1970. I can't do it anymore. They're just sitting there going, oh, I can't write another Abbey Road. I can't write another Revolver. It's just impossible. And then I look and I go, well, I don't have a Revolver or an Abbey Road. I've got an album about my ex-wife, and I've got a YouTube channel where I sit and talk to the camera about stuff like this. And then I've got some old YouTube videos that are a load of crap. I don't have that sort of thing. But then it's like, well, no one really, apart from a very few and far between set of, you know, artistes has, I don't know why I'm saying artiste in that way in like a pretentious way, but just, you know, people who have some kind of repertoire behind them, you know, something worthwhile, something worth watching. I mean, I've been watching a lot of Red Dwarf lately, and I think Grant Taylor and Doug Stone, I can't remember his last name, but they've got something that they can look back on for the rest of their life and go, even if it only lasted to the 3rd series, I did that. I inspired a load of people. And I know that, as self-congratulatory as it is, I've done a similar thing of inspiring people. I've had emails from people going, oh, you've inspired me to do X, Y, Z and all this. And I sort of nod and I'm like, yeah, oh, this is brilliant, I love it. But it always just sort of immediately fizzles out, you know? And I'm still left there like nothing. And I just sort of think, say if I got to like, I don't know, Brad Pitt levels of fame for whatever reason, right? I know it would never happen, but say it happens for whatever reason. And I get loads of fan mail and stuff like that going, oh, you're so amazing and all this, that and the other. I'd hate it. It would terrify me. It would be like, I don't deserve any of this. Send it over to, I don't know, Dolly Parton or fucking Janis Joplin or someone who's more worthwhile. You know, both of those people, they go off and do stuff for charity. They make loads of stuff that inspires people. They've got some classic songs, you know. But then, is that all human beings are, is what they provide to the world? What about, you know, their own personalities? Are those intrinsically worthwhile? Because like I know some people that I hang out with them because I like their personality. You know, most people I hang out with them because I like their personality. I wouldn't hang out with them if I didn't like their personality. And I just sort of think, I don't know, why do they bother with me? And I suppose from their point of view it's the same thing. I hang out with me because I like his personality. You know, I hang out with Johnny Mozza because I like his personality. And I go, am I seeking that sort of approval from other people? I don't want to live off of that, but ultimately I think people do, don't they? I mean, it's nice to sort of be reminded that you're an all right person, that you're doing good. That always gives you a sort of a fun sort of feeling, even if you feel a bit awkward in the moment, sort of like, you know, when someone over compliments you in the moment, it can feel a little bit awkward, but you still go away from it like, it's nice, I'm doing okay, I'm all right, you know? And I mean, with anxiety in general, I definitely have some kind of problem with it, in that I never used to think that I did, and then I started hearing other people sort of anxious sort of things, and thought, oh, what if I actually have it quite bad? What if I have it worse than I thought? Like, you know, it's always sort of like, for instance, recently it was sort of with my job. It was like, if I lose this job, it proves that I'm worthless as a man, as a provider, and as, you know, a human being. Everyone can hold down a job, and I can't. What's wrong with me if I'm unable to do that? You know, anytime I make a mistake at work, I'm constantly like, people don't make mistakes. I'm clumsier than the average person. I'm knocking stuff over all the time. What's wrong with me? But ultimately, you don't see everyone else knocking stuff over because you're not constantly in their head and seeing things through their eyes and causing the little accidents that they cause, you know? I mean, most of the time, say you knock over a teacup, right? And it's got a bit of tea in it and you spill it. What do? You clean it up so that no one sees it, and then you put the teacup back in the dishwasher or whatever. Now, evidence has been cleared, you know? We're all constantly covering up the evidence for our tiny little crimes. That's why we don't see them all the time. We only, you know, how many times do you see a murder and it's like, you've seen the murder rather than you heard about the murder on the news, right? I dare say 99.9% of you have never seen a murder. I've never seen a murder, but we've all heard of someone who's been murdered, you know what I mean? So I'm obviously taking it to a bit of an extreme with that, but I think ultimately that's kind of what anxiety is looking at yourself and taking every little thing that you do wrong and treating it like a murder, like it's an absolute dead set, you're fucked in the head sort of thing, when you're not. Ultimately, even if, say if you've been hospitalized for mental health time and time again, that kind of thing, you're still ultimately the person that you are inside. And that person, I presume, is a decent, caring, hard-working individual. Maybe it doesn't come out in the best of ways. Maybe it actualizes in unhealthy habits like drug abuse or alcoholism or mood swings and stuff like that. But ultimately inside, I think most of us have this urge, this yearning to be good people. And we all have different definitions of what good people mean. Some people it's community oriented, some people it's family oriented, some people it's about making the entire world a better place, at the expense of yourself. Some people it's more about taking care of yourself from within, And ultimately we are all trying to do good, but maybe we don't always get there. And it's okay to fail. It's okay to fall over and pick yourself back up. As long as you try, I think that's it. As long as you try, you're doing okay. And I think I am trying. And, even if you feel like you're not trying, as long as you feel bad about that, that's something. I don't want you to feel bad about stuff, but if you're feeling bad about not being, a better person, then you're sort of stagnating. And I don't want someone to get themselves down over things that don't matter. I'm just sort of saying, you want to improve. Like, when I was gone from YouTube for about 6 months, I felt like shit the entire time, if I'm going to be honest. I was like, I'm not making YouTube videos, I'm not doing stuff. I mean, when I was making them, I would get emails and stuff from people saying, your videos have saved my life, And I had a couple that were more explicit, like, your videos helped me, with my suicidal tendencies and stuff like that. And I sort of, for a long time, I kept making the videos because I thought I had this responsibility, like if I stopped making them, that what if someone kills themselves and it's because they didn't watch one of my videos? And then while I was gone, I still had those sort of thoughts, and I had to combat it with like, you're not that important, Josh, you're not that important, you're literally saving lives, shut up. But that doesn't help either. You're trying to make yourself better by being harsh to yourself, like you're your own sort of teacher with the whip going, work harder, get on with it, pass your exams. But, we banned hitting children for a reason, because it doesn't work. There's studies that have shown that it doesn't lead to good mental development, So in the same way that I think externally you shouldn't beat people if they're not doing stuff well enough, you shouldn't beat yourself up either, because you're not doing good enough. As long as you acknowledge that you have places to improve, and you stay realistic about that without getting in over your head about things that don't matter, and you try and differentiate between what does matter and what doesn't matter, and you can get a clear head about what that is, you'll do all right. And I'll tell you what, if you try and write this stuff down, you realize most of it doesn't even exist. You ever tried to write down your anxieties and realize that you can't, that you don't know what to say? And when you come up with metaphors, it feels like they don't quite apply to you, but you'll try. Maybe it's just the wrong metaphor. Maybe I'll try another one. No, that doesn't work either. I'll try another one. No, that doesn't work either. You keep trying these things and it just doesn't sort of work. And that's because a lot of it doesn't exist. It's not something that can be actualized because it's all misfiring neurons in the brain. And I don't know the psychology or the neuroscience behind it, but ultimately I know that 95% of my anxiety I don't need to have, and you don't need to have either. The world does not rest on your shoulders. You're doing okay. You'll be okay in the long run. And there's a good saying that I like, which I nicked from Mark Kermode, who nicked it in turn from The Exorcist, which is, everything will be all right in the end, and if it's not all right, it's not the end. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say, to be honest. So, thank you very much for watching this video, everybody. Hope you got something useful out of it. I hope it made you feel a little bit better. Try in the comments if you want to try and actualize some of your own anxieties. See if you can do it. And if you can, I'll tell you what, it's nice to be able to read through it and go, that works. If you obviously, you don't have to do it in the comments, do it in a little note or write it down on some paper, just so that you know. Because it's not about what other people think, it's not about approval from others. It's not even about approval from yourself. It's just about the knowledge that you're doing okay as long as you're trying. So that's it from me. Take care. Goodbye.